If you know your party's extension, please dial it now. For museum hours, tours, shows, and events, please press 1.
So I'm Alex from Fitment Industries, and we're today here to talk to you about the 4 different kinds of car builds. Now, one disclaimer. Don't get mad at us because your style is not in the 4 types. We're generalizing. There's like 30,000 different types out there. So don't get mad if we don't talk about your like Buzoku style for 3 minutes because you are one of the 12 people in the Midwest that decided on putting like a 7-inch rear bumper on your Toyota Celica that slammed on the ground with a 6.5-inch exhaust tip. We're just not, that's not what we're focusing on today. So I just need you to bear with me and please, have fun in the comments, but be nice. So the first type of build would be the function build. And when we talk about function, what we're saying is that this is the kind of guy or gal that ends up having a 2014 FRS and ended up picking up like some Koenig Hypergrams, but he didn't pick up like the 19 by 10.5s or like 19 by 12 Rohanas or anything like that. He went with the 18 by 8.5 plus 35 because that is a conservative, proper fitment that's just nice and easy and isn't gonna give him a hard time. Now, he could have went with some super aggressive like Nitto NT05Rs or whatever it is that's out there that's super aggressive, or you know, the Proxies or something like that, but he didn't. He went with some nice, conservative, maybe some 595, something that's a little bit easier, maybe even the T1 Sports instead, because he really wanted something that was good across the board, but also good on the pocketbook. A lot of times the function guys are probably like 90% of the actual community. They're the people that enjoy modifying their cars slightly, but not to the extent in which it ruins it for something outside of what they would use the car for. So what I'm talking about is that this is the car that they're likely driving every single day. This is the car that they drive in the winter. This is the car that they drive with their wife or significant other, potentially even their family. This is the car that people take to the grocery store, but also take to the car show the very next day. These are the people that at the end of the day just want something that's a little bit modified so that people know that it's for them, but then at the end of the day, they're still not ruining anything about the car that could prohibit them from actually enjoying it. And if you know just as much as I do, the more that you modify a car, unfortunately, the less you're actually going to be able to use it every single day. You run into issues with modifications and reliability and check engine lights and everything in between, unless you're a Volkswagen guy, in which case you have a check engine light just for having Volkswagen. The biggest thing with the function people is just the fact that they want just that. Function. And a lot of times you'll see people within this category spend a little bit more time playing around with the sort of autocross and HPD events going into it. Because at the end of the day, with autocross, you can go into that with pretty much anything you want. And a lot of times if you're playing around with some moderate sizing wheels, tires, and suspension, something moderate, remember, probably something along the Tane Flex Z or something like that, or maybe even your silvers versus going into like a KW Variant V3 kit, which is $3,500. These guys are really spending more time maybe occasionally going to the autocross or occasionally going to the car shows, but instead just want something that's fun for them. Do you find yourself trailering your car everywhere? Not to like the track, but to a car show? Do you find yourself maybe getting really upset that there's a small chip in your 11.5-inch rear barrel on your car? Probably maybe have a chance that you probably own the second type of car type that we're talking about, which would be the car show / Instagram build / anything that has to do with actually just mostly 100% building a car for aesthetic purposes. Today we're gonna be talking to you about the complete opposite of a function build. We're talking about the car show builds. Now, before we get started, don't get mad when we talk about Instagram builds or things like that, because at the end of the day, everybody builds a car like that for attention. Now, regardless of if they do it for social media, for themselves, or for car shows to win trophies, they're all doing it with pretty much the same fundamental reason, which is to do something different so that other people can notice it, and it's at the same time something that you appreciate. Wow, that was really fast. So you might have to rewind that and do it again because I have to slow down when I'm talking and I don't even have any Red Bull in my system. The end of the day, this sort of system, this sort of type of build is definitely more focused towards those that really want to showcase something different. If you're the guy that has a Kirby roof liner and you wanted everybody to know about it, you're probably going to be telling people at car shows to look at the roof liner. Now that has absolutely no functional point besides the fact that it looks neat, and that's what this next type and what this type of build is really about. The car show, guys, is just one of those things where I think people catch a lot of flack for, but at the end of the day, a car is yours, so do whatever you want. Whether you decide to track it, race it, or just look at it or stare at it in a garage while it's broken because it's a Datsun and you've stared at it for 4 years until you finally decide to sell it and you cry, but you really don't because it's at the end of the day, it wasn't a reliable car to begin with. you find yourself knowing that as long as you're doing it for what you want to do, it doesn't matter. Car show guys and car show types of builds are the kinds of people that ultimately want to do something so that they can show it to other people, and they can also do something for themselves. You see a lot of these guys going into more extensive builds, things like multi-piece forged. They go on air suspension. They're looking at cars that may not have a big ticket price tag on the top end, but between the modifications and all the stuff that you're putting on the car ends up being pretty extremely expensive. The functionality of the car is not usually there because at the end of the day, they're putting things on it that you normally wouldn't put on it, and you're making things fit that normally just wouldn't fit. But at the end of the day, these car shows and car show types of people are essentially trying to express themselves in a way that is, well, you know, what people want to see you as. I mean, at the end, you're at social media. I mean, social media is not who you are, because on social media, you could be this really fun, educational person that tries to talk about wheels, tires, and suspension, but in real life, you're just an asshole that doesn't like Christmas, and at the end of the day, you don't get really excited about much, except for the fact that you have coffee in the morning and you get to go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. The purpose of this type of build isn't for function, it's for art. And maybe that's just too theatrical of a word, but we would say it was for expressing yourself. It's one of the biggest things that people do these days, is a form of expressing themselves. You can see it in the way that people wear different types of clothing now, different shoes, different sort of watches, and different sort of hairstyles that essentially make you almost question or raise an eyebrow to something that you see that's different. The car build style and the style of builds of building something for a car show is no different, and it's never really changed, whether you had a Bel Air that was filled to the max capacity with speakers in the 70s, or whether you're slamming a car on the ground. The way that you've gone to express yourself is sometimes more important than function itself, but to show something about you that you wouldn't really be able to express in the form of a function to begin with. That's getting really, really deep. So with that being said, we're moving on to the third type, which is the type that you probably definitely know about. The third kind of car build is the one that you would never actually tell other people because it's just really frowned upon in today's day and age. But at the end of the day, if you're an adult and you try to think about your pocketbook before you think about your hobbies, you're probably in this field, and we are talking about, unfortunately, yet not unfortunately, the bought guys. The ones that buy their cars already built. The ones that buy their cars at the lowest depreciation amount after all the modifications have been installed 1 week after SEMA so that they can get a killer deal on a car that they do not have to lift a finger for. Now, does this cause a bad rap with a lot of people? Yes, because at the end of the day, people like to showcase that they work on their car, but at the same time, the people that work on their car maybe at the same time could be pointing fingers at the ones that build their cars for function or build their cars for form, or the guys that just bought the cars built to begin with. Is it something that's bad? I guess it depends on the situation. If you want to spend it and buy a car and build it, but then up losing $50,000 for the sake of telling other people that you bought the car and built it yourself, then maybe pride is worth that much to you, but to a lot of other people, it's definitely not. You can see a lot of people going out and buying cars from SEMA and other big trade shows a week after the show has essentially ended, and at the end of the day, they end up putting it on their Instagram, or they buy Instagram builds so that they can just have it, and now you have 500,000 followers on your Instagram, and things are right as rain. A lot of times, one of the biggest pros of being this type of car build is the fact that monetarily and all money invested, you're probably in the best spot against all these other types of builds because you're not wasting money, and at the end of the day, even though people don't like to think about money when they're talking about a hobby or even a passion, it does come into effect depending on how much money you're spending and what cars you're buying. A lot of people these days try to buy things with basic modifications installed so that they can do the aesthetic stuff, and you kind of get a blend in between the two. And depending on what you really want to do, or if you want to brag about it, I mean, maybe you just don't care and you buy your car built anyway, because at the end of the day, you want to not spend money on ramen and you'd rather actually take your wife out for a nice dinner. Maybe ramen is just bad. And the fourth and final type of car build is the one that we all know. We see it on Facebook probably once every 5 weeks. His Instagram or her Instagram has like 3,000 followers, like they had a YouTube, but they stopped making content. We're talking about the person and the type of build that just never gets done. It's the guy that's swapping an RB26 into a Datsun with like a Viper rear end and some sort of elongated chassis, or somebody's putting an electric motor on top of a supercharger, on top of a turbocharger for their Mazda Miata. Or it's the person that decided to take a total Maserati or Ferrari and decided that they were gonna rip it off and lift it and do all this different stuff. And you never really know what's going on with the build, but you do know every once in a while, about once every 3 weeks, they post a picture of the car in their garage and one small thing that they've been doing to to work on the project and you smile and you hope that they finish their project, but you know damn well that that project will never get done because there's no potential way for a project like that to ever get done. Maybe one day, but probably not. I'm sorry there, Evan. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. But at the same time, every single time you post a car, I just get really excited, and I hope one day I see it finished. We all have that one person that we know that's just always going to have that build in their garage that will just never be done. So which type of car build are you? Obviously, some have pros and some have cons, but nevertheless, we've probably fallen into one of those 4 things. If you think we missed a big one, drop a comment below and let us know. Otherwise, wheels, tires, suspension, you can find at fitmentindustries.com. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. We'll see you later. Peace.